I'm Jarrett Carpenter, and this is Future Signal. In this episode, let's dive right into Bitcoin versus real estate, 12 reasons BTC wins. Now, on this episode, I'm just going to give you the menu. This reason. For each reason, give you about 30 seconds preview of what's to come. And then in the future, I'm going to do an episode where I will dive deeper on each one of these reasons, because this is something that I talk a lot about with other millennials, Gen Z, and definitely now older people as they're trying to figure out, do they stay with real estate, what that looks like. Also, I'm not going to differentiate between commercial versus residential real estate, and those are two very different things. And in the future, I will talk about that. So those are some kind of caveats. Also, this is not financial advice. This is EduTainment. If you're listening to this on a podcast platform, go ahead and check out YouTube. There is a PowerPoint. So, there's a presentation that kind of goes with it. Let's dive into the 12 reasons why BTC wins. Now, I've made some notes, and like I said, I'm going to give you about 30 seconds for each one, give you an overview. But on a future episode, we will dive deeper into each one of these reasons, because this is a very, very, very important topic right now in the world we're living in with rising interest rates. Bitcoin is seemingly weathering, whether we're going into a recession or not, it's seemingly doing pretty well. It's hovering around 96,000 right now, which is 10, 11% away from its all-time high. So it's doing pretty well, even though there are macroeconomic things that are kind of out of everyone's hands, seemingly with tariffs. There's a couple wars going on, supply chain issues. So this is coming up more and more for people. Where should I think about putting future value, into Bitcoin or into real estate? Let's dive right in. So the first one is very simple, portability. I'm currently in Central America. I'm in Guatemala. And for me, I think it's a really great thing to be able to take your bare asset or your wealth kind of wherever you are. And that's because whether they're 12 or 24 words, or if you have multi-sig set up, it is a little bit different. But just the philosophy of being able to take your value with you and making it kind of borderless and easy to take anywhere is a brand new idea. Humans have been around for thousands and thousands of years, and really only since around 2009, 2010, when Bitcoin started getting going, 2011, 2012, the first times when we had digital scarcity, which is what Bitcoin is the first time we've really been able to take value across border digitally and cryptographically, encrypted. So it's not something we should sleep on, the portability of it. And for myself, as someone who lives between South America and North America, this is like a very big pro. The other one's liquidity. Talking to a friend recently, he's talking about, maybe he's going to sell his house, and he's like, oh man, selling a house, or selling any property is a process, whereas selling Bitcoin can be basically a push of a button, right? Depending upon what exchange you're on. So that is, the liquidity aspect, being able to be like, okay, I have $1 million in Bitcoin. I can sell that like that. And there's always a buyer. That's the other thing. Or I have $1 million in real estate. Man, it could be on the market for 3 months, for 4 months, for 5 months, whether it's commercial or residential. Like I said, I don't want to get too in the weeds, but liquidity is one thing that I think Bitcoin definitely has in its favor. Divisibility, because you can break down each Bitcoin into 100 million pieces. That's something where if you have one Bitcoin, for example, you could sell 10,000 sats, you could sell 100,000 sats, you could sell 1 million sats, or 10 million sats, which would be 0.1 Bitcoin. You can't really sell pieces of a home. Yes, if you have a commercial property, you can. Once again, I don't want to get too into the weeds, but the divisibility and being able to sell pieces of it is something that I think is very, very powerful that Bitcoin has. Permissionless. If you want to buy a home or buy a property or anything physical, whether it's residential or commercial, once again, I'm not going to go down that path. There can be a lot of hurdles. You need to make this much money. You need to have this bank loan. You need to have these things set up. You need to have all this paperwork. Bitcoin, once you own Bitcoin, once you get it, you're on the network. You're all good. You can play however you want. You don't need a broker. You don't need a real estate agent. You don't need a listing agent. You don't need a mortgage officer. You don't need any of that stuff. It's just much cleaner to be able to kind of move around. This kind of dovetails well with the number 2 here with liquidity. Finally, number 5, scarcity. Many of the videos that I do here on Future Signal, many of the stuff that things I talk about when I do talk about Bitcoin, I'm fascinated by its scarcity. Digital scarcity is a brand new thing for humans to wrap their mind around. So if you're watching this on YouTube, I'll put up here, if you haven't seen this video already, about 0.1 Bitcoin and how scarce that is. There's also follow-up videos about how rare it is to own 1 Bitcoin. So the scarcity of Bitcoin far outweighs any commercial or any residential property, in my opinion. Finally, immutability here. And these are kind of things that are just, intangibles to Bitcoin that I wanted to kind of call out before we get going. Immutability. Once a transaction is done, it is done. Recently, My sister was trying to buy a home in the state where she lives in the United States. And it was like, okay, so she bought it, but then there was like a window where they could say no. And then they didn't say no. So everything was good. And then it wasn't good. And then like lawyers get involved. Once you send a transaction, it's good. It's immutable. Having an immutable ledger is something that is very, very, very powerful. And I think that Bitcoin has that very much in its favor when compared to real estate, which can be a quagmire for any transaction, residential or commercial. Fungibility. This is really, really important. Every single piece of real estate is different. I almost got my real estate license, and I remember them saying every single piece of real estate is different. Even if you have two condos that sit right next to each other on the same lot, they're different. The way the sun hits is different. Maybe the way the wind hits is different. The neighbors on either side could be different, right? So no two pieces of real estate, they are non-fungible, whereas Bitcoin, one Bitcoin equals one Bitcoin, right? It is a very fungible thing, so it's very easy to trade within the network. It's a fungibility is a plus here. Number 8, third-party risk. I do not want to get down the rabbit hole here. When I talk about third-party risk, and I'm looking at my notes, when I do an episode on this, it will probably be 30 minutes long, or I may break it up into separate episodes. What I'm talking about here is climate crisis. We do not know what's going to happen. The LA fires just happened. When you see in the United States what happened to Asheville, North Carolina recently, what's happening in Florida with people, being in trouble with insurance, that's another third-party risk. I don't know how much my insurance premium is going to rise next year. It's a variable cost, right? Looking at other things, imminent domain, that's a third-party risk. The government could come and take your home. Yes, they will pay you for your home, but they could come and take it. Neighbors. Maybe you like your neighbors. Maybe you don't like your neighbors, right? HOA. So many homes in the United States now are under HOA, and that is, for me, third-party risk, because they could just tell you, hey, you have to paint your house, and it's going to cost, $4,500, and that's on you, and you have to do it. If not, we're going to fine you. So third-party risk. 9, taxes. Something that's happening right now for boomers is, yes, their homes are increasing. Many of them are retired, and so they're on a fixed income. And so as their homes are increasing, they're actually having to pay more in taxes annually because the value of the home is more, right? Bitcoin, when you sell, there should be a taxable event. Whether you want to pay taxes is up to you. Talk to your CPA. I do not know what jurisdiction you're in. You either have short-term or long-term gains, but with any real estate, you're going to have to be paying taxes from what I understand. And please, real estate people hop in and say, I'm very wrong. But you're going to have to be paying taxes on that value to your local municipality or your town or your city annually. Especially as the property value goes up, the taxes could go up. 10, maintenance. In Bitcoin, there's no maintenance. You buy it, you hold it. Now, I will say there's a couple caveats there. Maintenance could be if you are paying for a multi-sig service. I'm not going to call them out. None of them are sponsoring. But if you're paying for a multi-sig service, you may need to pay. Maintenance on homes, however, man, what a variable cost. All of a sudden, a tree falls in your house. The insurance only covers some of it. You may need to be forking up for that. So maintenance is another one of those variable costs that I've seen it really, hurt some of my friends because they didn't think that they were going to have to do so much maintenance potentially on their home when they bought it. Finally, global marketplace. We have 2 left. Global marketplace. And these last 2 I just added right before I decided to record this. Global marketplace. Your home, when you're selling it, or your commercial property, there's only a select few amount of millions of people that may or may not be interested. But with Bitcoin, in theory, anyone with an internet connection and a wallet could be interested. So instead of selling your scarce thing, whether Bitcoin instead of selling your what people think real estate is scarce relative to Bitcoin, I don't think so. But instead of selling whether it's a commercial or a residential property to the people in that town, the people that want to live in that town, the people that want to work in that town, in that city, in that area. Like I said, I don't know, 100,000, maybe 1 million people qualify also to be able to buy that real estate. Bitcoin, you have billions and billions of people that are looking to buy it. And so I think that that's a plus as well. Another reason why I think it wins. And finally, number 12, humans. If you've been in a real estate deal, if you've owned a house, if you've rented, probably every single person here has either owned or rented real estate at one point of time. I currently am renting real estate short-term via Airbnb in Central America. You have to deal with humans on some level. You have to be messaging with them. You have to have someone who's going to be maintaining the property, dealing with renters, right? If you are owner in the United States and you have a mortgage and it's residential, you have to be dealing with humans because they have to be dealing with humans at the bank, et cetera, et cetera. If you're in a commercial property, there's a bunch of other things, but humans are still involved. I think the beauty of Bitcoin is you start to take away, and I was going to put humans in third party, but I pulled them out because humans are special. You don't want to have to deal with humans. I think when you're dealing with less humans moves the transaction speed up. And I think that that's a really good thing because we've all had a bad roommate. We've all had a bad tenant. If you have a real estate portfolio, or maybe you've been a bad tenant, maybe you've been kicked out. I lived in New York years ago and I got evicted. Right. And that was the rules, which is like a third party thing from the state. And then I had to deal with really shitty landlords, humans. So this was kind of a quick one, but what did I miss? What would you remove? I'd love to hear your thoughts. If you're in real estate, please comment below. If you're in Bitcoin, please comment below. Please comment below. Like I said, I'm going to continue to make longer episodes on each one of these 12 items because I think it's really important. And I hope you've been able to hear me because right now there's celebrations going on outside. So I hope that this audio has also been good. I'm on the road. I hope that you enjoyed this episode. Please follow us on social media at FutureSignalXYZ. You can check out our website at futuresignal.xyz and make sure you are subscribed if you're watching on YouTube, or if you're listening to this on a podcast platform, please go ahead and subscribe. And as always, I will see you next time.